Okay, so we are going to pick up where we left off from. We are on Leviticus 15. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Any man who has any bodily discharge is ceremonially unclean. This, this defilement is caused by the discharge, whether the discharge continues or stops. In either case, the man is unclean. Any bed on which the man lies, and anything which he sits on is ceremonially unclean. If you touch the man's bed, you must wash your hands and clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If you sit where the man with a discharge has sat, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If you touch the man with discharge, you must wash you must wash your clothes, your hands, and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If the man spits on you, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. Any saddle blanket on which the man rides is ceremonially unclean. If you touch anything under the man, they will be unclean until evening. You must wash your clothes, your hands, and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If the man touches you without first rinsing his hands, you must wash your clothes, bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. And if any clay pot the man touches must be broken, and if any wooden utensil he touches must be rinsed off with water. When the man when the man with the discharge is healed, he must he must be he must count off 7 days from the period from which his purification. Then he must wash his clothes and bathe himself in fresh water, and he will be ceremonially clean. On the 8th day you must get 2 turtledoves and 2 pigeons, and come before the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle, and give the following offerings to the priest. The priest will offer one of the birds as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. Through this process, the priest will purify the man before the Lord for his discharge. Whenever a man has an immersion of semen, he must wash his entire body in the water, and he will remain ceremonially unclean until evening. Any clothes or leather with semen on it must be washed with water and must remain unclean until the evening. After the man and woman have had sexual intercourse, they must both bathe in water, and they must each bathe in water, and they will remain unclean until the next evening. Whenever a woman has her menstrual period, she will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. Anyone who touches her during this time will be unclean until the evening. Anything in which the woman lies on, sits on during her period will remain unclean. If any of you touch her bed, if any of you touch her bed, and you must wash your clothes, bathe yourself with water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If you touch any objects that she sat on, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself with water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. This is the instructions. This includes her bed. Any object that she sat on will be unclean until the evening. Anybody who touches it. If a man has sexual intercourse with her, and her blood touches him, her menstrual impurity will be transmitted to him. He will remain unclean for 7 days, and in the bed in which they lie on must remain unclean. If the woman has a flow of blood for many days, it is unrelated to her menstrual period. For if the blood continues beyond its normal period, she is ceremonially unclean, as during her menstrual period. A woman being unclean as long as the discharge continues. Any bed she lies on or any object she sits on during this time must be unclean, just during her normal menstrual period. If any of you touch these things, you will remain ceremonially unclean. You must wash your hands and clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. When the woman bleeding stops, she will count off 7 days, then she will be ceremonially clean. On the 8th day, she will bring 2 turtle doves, 2 pigeons to present herself to the priest at the entrance of the tabernacle. The priest will offer the sin offering and the burnt offering. Through this process, the priest will purify her before the Lord and making her ceremonially in impurities because of her bleeding. This is how you regard to the people of Israel who are ceremonially unclean. Otherwise, they will die. They will be impure and defile the tabernacle and stand amongst them. These are the instructions in dealing with someone who has bodily discharge, a man who is unclean because of um, immersion of semen, or a woman who becomes or a woman during her menstrual period. This applies to all men and all the women who have bodily discharge, and to the men who have sexual intercourse with the women who is ceremonially unclean. And we are going to stop there. That is the end of Leviticus 15:33.